Listen closely, and for the next few seconds, close your eyes, because sometimes the hardest thing to see is the truth you've been avoiding. If this message has found you today, something inside you has already changed. Not tomorrow, not next month. Already. You may not see it yet. You may still wake up in the same room, go to the same job, talk to the same people, follow the same routines. But beneath all of that, something is no longer willing to remain asleep. And that's dangerous, because once you truly see something, you can never unsee it. Maybe that's why you're here. Maybe for weeks, months, or even years, you've been carrying a feeling you couldn't explain. A strange tension, as if your life still works, but no longer fits, as if you've been playing a role for so long that you've forgotten where the performance ends and where you begin. Most people ignore this feeling. They distract themselves. They stay busy. They convince themselves it's normal. But eventually, there comes a moment when pretending becomes more painful than changing. And when that moment arrives, messages like this have a strange way of finding people. Not everyone, only those who are finally ready to hear them. And what you're about to discover is why. There is a phase of life that almost nobody talks about because it doesn't look dramatic from the outside. There is no catastrophe, no obvious collapse, no visible disaster. Yet internally, everything is beginning to shift. You start questioning things that once felt certain. Goals that once motivated you suddenly feel empty. Conversations that used to excite you now feel repetitive. Achievements lose their flavor. Distractions stop working. And that's when people become frightened because they assume something is wrong. But what if the opposite is true? What if the discomfort isn't evidence that you're lost? What if it's evidence that you've outgrown something? Think about it. Every major transformation begins with dissatisfaction. A seed must break before it becomes a tree. A snake must shed its skin before it can grow. The old structure always feels threatened before the new one emerges. And that's exactly why this period feels so confusing. The one you've been and the one trying to emerge. But here's the part most people never realize. The conflict isn't happening in your life. The conflict is happening inside your perception. And in a moment, you'll understand why that changes everything. Have you ever noticed something strange? The moment you begin questioning your life, you start seeing certain messages everywhere. You hear the same lesson repeated from completely different sources. Most people call it coincidence, but psychologically, something deeper is happening because your attention is changing, and attention is reality's spotlight. The moment your mind becomes ready for a truth, it begins searching for evidence everywhere. What was invisible yesterday becomes impossible to ignore today. The opportunity was always there. The lesson was always there. The answer was always there. You simply weren't ready to receive it. And readiness changes everything. Because you changed. That's what makes this moment so important. Because readiness is not about learning something new. It's about finally accepting something you've secretly known all along. But acceptance comes with a cost. Here's something few people admit. People don't fear failure nearly as much as they fear transformation. Failure is familiar. Transformation is not. Transformation demands that you become someone new. And that is terrifying. Because becoming someone new means leaving parts of yourself behind. Old habits, old stories, old excuses. Sometimes, even old relationships. The version of you that survived until today was built for a certain chapter. But what happens when that chapter ends? What happens when the identity that protected you becomes the very thing holding you back? This is where people hesitate, because the unknown always looks more dangerous than the familiar, even when the familiar is making them miserable. And yet, every meaningful life follows the same pattern. certainty becomes a prison. The question is not whether you're capable of growing. The question is whether you're willing to release what no longer belongs to you. Because in the next few minutes, we need to confront the one thing that determines whether transformation actually happens: responsibility. This is where the fantasy ends. No book can do this for you. No motivation, no perfect plan. The hardest realization in adulthood is understanding that awareness changes nothing by itself. You can understand every psychological principle, watch every self-improvement video, and still remain exactly where you are. Because information does not transform people, decisions do. There comes a moment when insight must become action, when knowing must become choosing, and nobody can make that choice for you. That responsibility belongs entirely to you, not because life is unfair, but because your future cannot be outsourced. The person who changes your life must eventually be you. And when people finally accept this, something remarkable happens. Because they stop waiting, they stop looking for rescue, and they begin building, quietly, deliberately, one decision at a time. But there is still one final truth we need to discuss. The reason this message arrived now, and not earlier. Perhaps years ago, you would have clicked away. Perhaps months ago, none of this would have resonated. Perhaps yesterday, you wouldn't have been ready. But today, you stayed. And that matters, because readiness is not certainty. Readiness is not confidence. Readiness is not having all the answers. Readiness is simply reaching the point where staying the same hurts more than moving forward. That's all. The people who change their lives are not the fearless ones. They are the ones who become unwilling to continue betraying themselves. And maybe that's why this message found you today. Not because you're special, not because destiny selected you, but because a deeper part of you finally stopped negotiating with the life you don't want and started searching for the life you do. So here's the question. What truth have you already known for months that you're finally ready to admit? Write it in the comments, not for the algorithm, for yourself. Because sometimes the first step toward a new life is giving a name to what you've been avoiding. And if this message arrived when you were finally ready, don't ignore what brought you here. The next chapter of your life will not begin when circumstances change. It will begin the moment you decide that the old version of you no longer gets to make the decisions. And that moment might be right now.